You know those projects that you really don't want to do, but they kind of have to get done and it feels like something's just pulling on you to get done? Well, that's kind of how I feel when it comes to detailing cars. See, I'm really not a detailer, to be honest, and I don't even really enjoy washing cars, but it's kind of the maintenance of being a painter. It's kind of like a dentist that really never brushes his teeth at night, and I'm not the best car washer, as you can see here, but I'm willing to learn, and that's why I brought on my friend Juan from Turbo Wax, which is a professional detailer. And if you remember from just a few moments ago, I don't really like washing cars, so if you tell me I could put a 5-year coating on my vehicle so I don't have to wash it as much and it's gonna look just as good, well, I'm all for it. But detailing cars and painting cars are very similar because there is a lot of prep involved, and rather than watching a whole bunch of YouTube videos, I asked Juan to come over and do the manual labor for me. We're gonna be using the GOAT product here from Avalon King. They say it's got 5 years worth of coating, and we're gonna put that to the test today on the car and the wheels, and we're gonna see what the reaction is at the end of the video. Well, we got my 2008 Acura TL. Now, this car is fully restored, and well, I really want to preserve the paint. So what we're going to be doing today is I'm working with Avalon King, and we're going to be using their new product, the GOAT. Now, this vehicle was, again, previously done in their Armor Shield 9, which guarantees up to 2 years of protection. And after we washed it, we could still see some of that beading on top of the actual panels itself. It gave me a lot of confidence to move into the actual GOAT, which is the next product. Now, before you go slapping on any sort of ceramic coat, no matter what the brand is, there's a little bit of a process. Now, can a do-it-yourselfer do this? Sure. But it's going to take some knowledge. Now, this job with a professional detailer, and Juan will tell you, can charge up to $1,500 and more. It's not all about the ceramic coating, but it's more about the polishing that needs to be done in the paint preparation. See, detailing and painting cars is very similar, and today, Juan's gonna teach me just a little bit more. Now, before we get started, we're gonna need a few products before we get to the ceramic coating itself. We're gonna need a clay bar. This is a must to remove contamination. Now, you can use a waterless for this or a detail spray. Then we're gonna be using what I use all the time, a swirl remover, and then we'll get to the GOAT product. Now, the AS9 is a 2-year coating. It's a very good coating. It is $69. And then we have the GOAT coating, again, a $200 product. And we'll get into some details about these two products in the future in this video. So Juan has a little trick for us, and he's going to show us how do we tell if our paint is got any contamination on it. I rub my hand on here, and Juan, it feels okay, but you have a little trick for me.
We like to use a small sandwich bag and simply put it in your hand, use it as a glove, and you could feel all that contamination on top. If you do it without the baggie with your hands, you will not feel it. So unless there is extremely bad, like a lot of overspray, you will have to go with the baggie just to double check. This is a good trip when you're talking to your customers to show him part of the process and why you charge so much. We're gonna use the clay bars. So clay bars, there's a couple types of them. There could be synthetic or it could be this type. So we're gonna go with the clay bar, a little bit of the waterless, a spray on the surface, glide back and forth. Sometimes you can hear the contamination coming out, sometimes you cannot, but you can see here it's already a little dark, no? So what you do when it gets contaminated, you simply flip it to the other side, get it all flat, and make a little spongy and glide back and forth.
This car is garage kept, so it's really pretty clean, but let's take a look at what we've got after a couple passes underneath the garage and taken out every so often. Juan, do we have any contamination or dirt on that? Actually, I've done a pretty good job taking care of this car, huh?
Yeah, you have.
And that's because if you have a ceramic coat on, it helps repel that dirt.
Absolutely, yes, and the garage helps a lot. You're not getting the Florida weather beating, you know?
Yeah. And we have all the clay barring done, and we used the clay bar mainly on the top surfaces where it really needed it, as well as the other parts of the car. Now we're going to need to polish the vehicle. If you don't polish the vehicle, then the ceramic coating cannot have its full capabilities of protecting and shining up your vehicle, and that's exactly what we want here. Now we're ready to polish one. Talk to me about the tools that you use.
Well, I like to use the Griots, this brand right here. This is what they call the G21, and this one is what they call the G15. I'm a lazy guy, so I like the G15 because it's the weight. So this is the two machines that we usually use to do the paint correction. And then if we move over here, depending on the surface condition, we will use a microfiber pad, which is very aggressive, and then we will follow up with the orange pad. Sometimes you can go directly to the orange pad, sometimes you gotta use both of them. So I recommend that you have both of them.
All right, so Juan's just finishing up doing a small area. Now you notice how he has the hood lifted. It's very important so you don't burn the edges. The edges are where the paint is the thinnest, and you don't want to get all that compound in between the edges. Now, I'm taking a look at it, and he was working on it a little bit longer than we were recording, and I'm looking at the light, and I can see that the light is completely clear. There's nothing interfering with that light here. And as I move it over to the other side, if we look at the light and at an angle, if you can pick it up, there's a lot more haze, okay? You can see in this area, there's a lot more scratching, and this is what we want to really get rid of. So if I come back over to this area, we can see the light even at an angle, and we can see that the haze or that scratching, it isn't there, but over on the other side, you can see that haziness and the swirl. So Juan, I think we're gonna go ahead and do this on all the surfaces that's needed, and then we can move on to the ceramic coating.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you are new to buffing and you are using a rotary polisher, you are going to have a hard time getting out your holograms and your swirls. Don't make the mistake that I made of only using a rotary buffer. It wasn't until I met Juan from Turbo Wax that he actually showed me that using this DA safer polisher is exactly what the paint needs in order to get that nice, smooth, hologram-free and swirl-free finish. See, I was putting so many swirls and so many buffer trails using the rotary, but now that has all gone away with the swirl remover in a DA. The car is completely swirl free at this point, and it's ready for its ceramic coating. So let's take a look. Before we can talk about the ceramic coating, what's very important is we use a prep solvent. Here we're using Prep-All and a cheaper microfiber cloth. The reason why we want to use a Prep-All is because it's going to remove any sort of contamination. It's going to open up the paint so that the bonding between the ceramic coat and the paint is a much more secure bond. So this is a very important step even after doing all the polish. And then we have some high quality microfibers in which we can use to wipe off the ceramic coating once it's applied. Now when looking at these two kits, it's very important to know the difference. This is the $69 AS9 do-it-yourself kit. And do-it-yourself kit comes with the car, the foam applicator, and the towelettes, and the gloves. Everything you need to get started to coat your small to medium sized car. This is a 2-year coating, and this is exactly what is already on the TL. Now they got the GOAT kit. This is a 5-year coating. This is designed more for the professional use. It does not come with the foam applicator or the towelettes or the card or anything like that because it's assumed that the professional would already have those tools. Now, for this actual coating, it is still a do-it-yourself coating as well, but a little bit more expensive at the $200 price range. However, a 50 milliliter bottle, so you can probably do two and a half cars depending on the actual size and the application of what you're applying it to. Now we have a special deal for you all. If you're going to buy the GOAT coating, Avalon King is going to send you the GOAT coating and this $69 AS9 kit completely free. So if you buy the coating here, the GOAT, you're going to get this coating absolutely free. This is for Paint Society members only. The link will be down in the description, but also keep in mind, this is for US and Canada only. We're going to be using the more expensive, the GOAT, which is the newest formula that they have, 5 years of hydrophobic coating. And what that basically is a coating that goes on the surface, which helps to repel dirt, water, bird droppings. That's a big one, a big destroyer of paint. Can't tell you how many times we get bird droppings on a vehicle, a hood. Customer lets it sit in the sun, it bakes and eats right into that actual coating. I'd rather there be protection on the surface of the panels so that doesn't happen. It also uses nanotechnology to seal off all the pores and the little crevices of the paint. As paint starts to break down, it will break apart a little bit over time. An older vehicle, I don't want to repaint it. And once that goes onto all the pores and little crevices of the paint that you can't see with the naked eye, it will dry to a nice, cured, shiny, protective coating. And let me tell you, once ceramic coat dries on a vehicle, it looks totally different the next day. And by the looks and the feels of it, we are ready for the ceramic coating at this point. Now, another reason why I chose this coating is because it's do-it-yourself friendly and can be used by professionals as well. Something very important for you all on the channel. It also dries 6 times faster and much longer lasting, and we're gonna be putting it to the test to see if there is a big difference, because that's what I wanna know when I'm spending a little bit more money. We wanna know, is our dollar going further? Is it worth it? Or should we just settle for that entry-level coating? These are the types of things that we're gonna test here on the channel. So let's start with the application. We're gonna start off with our prep ball, and we're gonna give it a little bit of a spray here. And we can either use 2 rags or the other side of the rag. Juan and I are going to be doing this, and we're just going to clean it. We're going to work small sections, probably 2 by 2, and then we can flip it. And once again, this is basically wax and grease remover. It's going to really get that surface ready for that ceramic coating to bond well. What I'm actually going to do is just use that 2 towel method. I feel like the 2 towel method is going to be more effective than flipping it over and a lot quicker to do. Now we're all ready for the application of the ceramic coat. So we have our applicator pad, and then we have this towelette, we'll call it. It comes with this card, and a lot of folks just don't know what it is for, and basically you can use it to tuck in this little towelette sheet here, I'll call it. So we're gonna remove the goat's head here, and it'll only take a few drops, and we can add as we go. So you might not see it well, but we're gonna put a few drops on there, and it is dropping onto the towelette. And we're gonna have Juan do the application process, and I'm gonna do the wiping process right behind. Now he's gonna work a small area first, and then he's gonna make sure it has enough of the application on it. And then once I start to see it look a little bit rainbowish, which I'm gonna show you, I'll come through and I'll give it a nice wipe. And we can see here, it's got a little bit of a haze right where he's applying it. And it might be a little bit hard to see, but you can see a streaking kind of going on where that ceramic coating is applying and bonding to the actual surface. Now, it will take a few moments, maybe 2 to 3 minutes. All we're gonna do is take this towel and just basically wipe it off, and that's all there is to it. You can see how easy the process of the application of the ceramic coating is. It's just the prep that takes a little bit longer. Now, one thing I noticed that was a little bit different from any other ceramic coating that I've used before is that it dried kind of with a light haze and not the rainbow effect that I'm usually used to seeing, like on the AS9, which made it a little bit harder to see where it has already been applied and when it was appropriate to wipe off. Now, you're able to see it on the darker spots like the trim here, but anywhere else you'd have to really look hard. So we just followed the pace of about 3 to 4 minutes when we wiped it off and it was ready to go. It really does dry 6 times faster, so I generally kept about 2 panels behind Juan and it was ready to wipe off. And just adding that ceramic coating to this actual trim, which is very expensive. All these trims are very expensive on the car, guys. These are around $100, just these little trims. These can be up to $200, and getting any extra coating on those trims really on an older car is going to greatly help it. So we're just moving along, working a small area as evenly as possible. The reason why I chose Juan to help me is because he's got the experience and he can go over anything. He uses ceramic coating on everything and anything. I've seen him use it on his deck outside. He's used it on patio furniture. It's not limited to just automotive. It can be honestly used for anything. I really want to try it out on a shower because I think it's going to work out really nice. And here on the hood, Juan did it about a good 5 or 6 minutes ago, and I don't necessarily see that rainbow effect that I'm typically used to seeing. But here's what I see. I see a little bit more clarity, right? So I see that the streaks from the application process have leveled off. It's a good indication right now just to give it a little bit of a buff over. And as I buff over it, I can feel how smooth it is, and I can tell a difference between the Armor Shield 9 and the GOAT, because literally there's not like any excess residue here to buff off. It's just kind of just off already, to be honest with you guys. Really nice. And Juan did the roof about 5 minutes ago, so I'll follow the same process. And I can feel that as I start to take it off, you can feel that it's coming off. I gotta say, I got the easy part. All I gotta do is wipe it off, Juan. This is a lot easier to work with than the other products I've used, or the cheaper version. All right, we'll hit up the other side. You can see here though, on the trim, it's so hard to see it dry on a lighter car, on a lighter silver, but here you can see it's dried, and all we do is just give it a little buff off. There we go. So it is drying really quick. It's just very hard to see on a light color, but we've got it, we're just gonna go ahead and keep wiping her off. Since it dries 6 times faster, we can definitely tell a lot more speed here. You don't really want to do this on a hot day. I would wait till nighttime if you can control, because you don't want any spots to kind of look high or look uneven. And if you got 2 people, I'm telling you, it doesn't take much. You and your wife, you and your husband, you and your buddy can get this done really easy. Now, what are we looking for missed spots? Like any haze, looking at it from the side of the car, see if we have any missed spots, because it's gonna be hard if we don't get everything off now. And it's literally that easy, guys. Once you wipe it off, you're completely done. And I'm telling you, this thing looks good. Now, this thing is gonna look even better tomorrow, so make sure it's not gonna get any water on it. Make sure you're not leaving it outside. If you can, leave it covered for a little bit, overnight at least, and it's gonna really enhance that gloss once it dries. A lot of folks don't believe in ceramic coatings, to be honest. People think it's a gimmick, but being a painter, I see that this is a big step up from waxes, and I can't wait to see how my 08 looks in 2024 once we come back in the morning, and then we're gonna go ahead and apply it to the wheels. And the next morning, let's go ahead and check her out. Woo! You could tell it's you could smell it. You could tell and you could smell it, because we got a good application on here. Man, that thing is looking good. As this thing dries overnight, man, the gloss just intensifies. My 2 concerns, again, the trunk and the roof. With the previous owner, this car sat outside, and these 2 panels start to break down just a little bit. So the ceramic coating really goes into the pores and the crevices of that clear coat as it starts to deteriorate over time. It's about 16 years old, and it gives it that coating that we need. And with the 5-year coating on this, we're hoping that it's going to be a real true 5-year coating. I know keeping it in the garage, you'll probably have a good chance of getting that 5 years out of it. But I think, in my opinion, ceramic coating is a step over waxes. A lot of folks might not believe that, but I really do. I mean, you're putting on a coating that it just does not break down. And check this out. So we only use that much from here to here. I mean, not even a quarter of it. So we're gonna have a lot more ceramic coating in this bottle to do the wheels and any other places that we want, maybe even do the other cars. But it really goes a long way. So more of a pricey product, but if you're getting more value for it, it's gonna be a little bit better for you all. So we have enough now, and we can go ahead and we're gonna go hit up the wheels. They've already been cleaned with the pre-clean, and let's get those all coated. And there it is, guys. It is completely protected. We even did the glass as well, the wheels. It's completely protected. And we had a little bit of help along the way, but it's definitely something you can do with the family. Make sure it's cool here. Now, I'm gonna let this dry for 24 hours. We did this last night, so we want a full 24 hours before we bring it outside. We don't want it to get wet, but then we're gonna do some minor testing with water. We're gonna see how it reacts, because we can't see the coating really on camera, but we'll be able to see how it reacts when something falls on it. And that's what I want to really test out with you guys. We want to see that goat coating is worth the extra money. So the next day we took it into the shop and we tested a couple cars, and we can see here that this water just really sits on top of the paint. It really goes nowhere. It stays right where it's at. And this will imitate whatever has fallen on the car is going to stay there and continue to eat the paint. So we went over to the TL and look at the difference here. You can see the water just sleets and sheets off of the panel itself, completely gone. And with just one little wipe of the towel, there's no more evidence that that was even wet just a couple moments ago. So we go back to the Mercedes and we're checking it out, and it's still just sitting on the top of the car. And this leads to paint deterioration at a much faster rate. So we went to a newer car, and this looks like it was in much better condition, but you can really see that the water is just staying on the actual panel itself. So we went back over to the TL, we tried another panel, and it's just coming off of the panel. And again, with just a quick wipe of a microfiber, it's completely gone. So we walked back over in real time to the newer vehicle, the RDX here, and we're checking it out, and look, the water is just staying on there. The same thing with whatever falls in your vehicle, it's just going to stay on there. So is it safe to say that ceramic coating works? It's not a gimmick. I would say it's not a gimmick. We just showed you here, and I'm happy to have it on every one of my cars. And you really don't need to be a pro. You can invite a detailer friend or watch some YouTube videos like this. Guys, this is Brian from Paint Designer reminding you, don't overthink it, it's just paint.